Is there any other visual thing that you love about this?
Can we paint the horse? No.
No, I mean, well, why couldn't the horses wear? Why couldn't we develop horse things? Sleeves to put on the horses. Like, why does the horse have to be, all just blank? I mean, I think that there's stuff that you could put on the horses as well. Yeah, too.
Yeah, I think it's if you allow schools and their ability to get the Nikes and Adidas and all the other clothing things of the world involved, they'll go wild because they just want, if they can tie themselves to a school, they're as happy as can be.
Think about the transition to the environment. Here's the kicker. Okay, my initial idea was, we gotta have this at the Meadowlands. We gotta have this at Hoosier and Pocono and Northfield and stuff like that. Nope, nothing. This is not even gonna touch a racetrack. I want nothing to do with, and this is thanks to Gordon Banks. Gordon Banks gave me this idea. He said, if you're staying away from gambling, stay away from gambling. Don't just stay away from it, because the whole track environment at the Meadowlands, at Pocono, at Hoosier, some of these tracks, they do great things, but overall, we've talked about this, the track environment on regular race days is not welcoming at all to any young person at all. Tell me a track, please, Jay, on a regular night that you would want to go there with your buddies and say, that's open year round. Don't, the Red Mile is different because it's a couple weeks. It's a novelty. What track is welcoming to the college generation on a regular basis?
The only one I can possibly truly say is Hoosier, because they have a brewery, like a craft brewery bar, and they have 5 different places to eat like that. But the fact that I one track I can confidently say I would take somebody to and be proud to show them to it, it's kind of sad.
So here's where we're going to have these events, and this is the best part. Okay, remember, Jay, we're dealing with each division has 4 teams, 20 horses, right? So that's 80 horses, give or take. 100, whatever it is, 80 to 100 horses. I'm not restricting this to the Northeast. That would be a part of it. But imagine if we took 100 horses and we shipped them down to the SEC conference, Georgia, Alabama, South Carolina, North Florida, North Carolina, things like that, where harness racing is not known. There's training centers, there's tracks, there's things like that. We're not dealing with speed. We're not dealing with purse money. We're not dealing with the top 3-year-olds in the world. As long as it's a track that is safe, and obviously there will be safety standards and things like that, but you don't need an entire structure to have. It's essentially county fairs too. All these county fairs that are around, we could, you have the structure and you have the things in place. Think about the family environment. Think about the best places are at county fairs to go watch races, right?
Yeah, you for example, if you just brought them to Pinehurst, you have the barn areas there, so you have a place to house the horses. You have an area where I can already tell you people will come watch races because we do the matinee and we go literally 2 minutes and 25-second miles with babies, and we get between 3,000 to 5,000 people every year. Mm-hmm. I laugh as I say, well, this is the biggest crowd that my 2-year-olds are going to see this entire year, and it's sad, but so don't tell me all of the people won't show up. No, if you give them something new and put on a good show, they will show up.
Now, what if in the 12? Let's say it's Clemson. What are the 4? What if we had Georgia, Clemson? What's a North Florida school or an Alabama? What are some of the schools that are relatively close to Pinehurst?
You have NC State has they're an hour away.
Okay.
You have North Carolina and Duke. They're both very close. I would probably lean more towards North Carolina because Duke's such a smaller school.
Sure.
Clemson,
right?
Clemson, South Carolina. They're both,
yep.
Pretty close. Yeah, you have the eastern the Western North Carolina schools. You have the Eastern Carolina, Western Carolina. the smaller schools, but there's no reason why they couldn't necessarily be involved in it. You go to Georgia, you have the regular, University of Georgia, you got Georgia Tech. There's so many different options, and you just, and again, we're not needing that many schools to start with, so we just got to find 8 schools that are willing to, jump in on an opportunity.
Well, and 4 from one area. I think 4 in a division is good.
Yeah, so it's not, you're bound to find 4 schools with the endowments and ability to kind of cash in on new things that they have. This is possible.
But like you're saying, Pinehurst gets a couple thousand people. So to an event like this, you're gonna get more people than that. So imagine
you're drawing. There's tons of North Carolina fans here. They would love the chance to actually go root on North Carolina because they never really get that chance.
Right. So you could charge admission to this thing $10 for admission, $5 for parking. That's nothing. Like, people get crazy about the North America Cup because they charge admission. Listen, no, this is something that you could charge admission for, and people are used to charging. You go to a college event.
We charge admission for our matinee, and people come in. They never have complained about the price.
So you can. I'm sure that there's places to camp out or set up or tailgate, things like that. You could bring in vendors. I've gone to plenty of small events. You have vendors come in for food. They're selling. So this is an event that is profitable because what's the security here? I mean, you funnel everybody into an entrance, and listen, even if some people jump in for free, whatever, but like if they're hopping the fence, okay, the security's minimal. You can have people walking around the barns, right? You can have people enjoying themselves and introducing them to the sport.
Yeah, and these are people that don't really understand it yet, and that's kind of a thing I've gone through with the matinee. Like, these people don't really understand what's going on, and then once I explain it to them, like, wow, I'd kind of want to get involved in this, or I want to know how to see this more. And it's like, oh no, they don't want to watch it. It's like, no, they just don't know that they can watch it.
Right, but then they actually go to let's say they go, they winter in Florida, they go to a training center, they go to the deck, and then they live in Philly, and they go to Harris Chester, and they can't get to the track. There's no people there, and it's a bad environment. They're surrounded by
it's behind a prison.
It's behind a prison. So like all these things that are not good to go to a track for a first time person who's there for the love of the horses.
Yeah,
racetracks are set up for gambling. We're cutting out the gambling to prove that this sport is better without gambling. I know people are going to hate that, but this sport is better without gambling.
There's a certain person on Twitter that's going to try to reblock you again for saying
we've been relying upon gambling forever, and it's only gotten us to a certain level. And everybody has to realize that there's so much more money to be made not relying on gambling based upon entertainment and television deals. Do you know that the NCAA was finally profitable in about 1990 because of TV, because of their multi-billion-dollar deals? Like, it wasn't based upon anything else other than their television deal, the Big Town Network, the SEC. So if we make people enjoy the track wholesomely, this is something that Ryan Clements is gonna love, because he's talking about no gambling.
I can hear the gripe, like, well, only football and basketball are the revenue sports for things. It's like, okay, but here's something where it's totally different and totally, it's something that would just totally trying to turn the NCAA upside down because it's a sport that is not common to them at all. And I think just that originality alone would generate a lot of press.
Listen, I went, my buddy Ryan Miller a couple years ago said to me, hey, let's go to the I forget what the Ryman Games or something like that in Manhattan. It was track and field and it was Olympic qualifying, or it was like a regional Olympic qualifying. And I was like, I don't know nothing about it, but it was cool. And there was a couple thousand people there. It was in this arena in Manhattan, in Upper Manhattan, I think the Upper West Side, something like that. And, they had speed walking, they had pole vaulting, they had all the track and field things, they had high jumping, all those things. And it was cool just because it's an event. You don't need to know anything about it. And if we're not getting gambling forced down our throats, you go to a track, you bring a cooler. It's a family atmosphere. People love those things. They go to concerts. They go to this. Bring a cooler. Bring this. I mean, a whole market now is on koozies and carrying your beer. I mean, that's just it is what it is.
Yeah, at some point you have to reinvent yourself. Well, here is a total reinvention while cashing in on a kind of American culture thing that's beloved. That's the kind of gist of this.
And the track environment is never going to turn somebody off. If we have this, at Spring Garden Ranch and Southern
they're
Oaks,
gorgeous areas. There's trees everywhere, bright and sunny skies, warm weather. I mean, the scenery is going to be perfect. There's no one's going to be like, oh man, this is kind of creepy. Like, no, it's they're gorgeous areas.
Any of these county fairs is going to be huge. Like where and you have it on days where you can construct it where it's less busy so that the whole focus. I just don't think that the family environment and the college environment, like, listen, there's plenty of places where there's beer flowing, but college kids aren't like throwing themselves and causing chaos, and it's still a family atmosphere. So I don't think you're ever going to turn it doesn't have to be just college or just family. Like, you can mix. It's okay. Like, there's places that sell both alcohol and have children around.
Yeah, I mean, you can go to any SEC tailgate, and there's a mixture of families going there for the game and fraternities throwing keggers outside, and there's no like, oh my God, I can't bring my kid to the game. It's fine.
Now here's the best part of this, Jay. Again, we're not beholden to the structure and rigidity of harness racing, right? Because this is not harness racing. This is the NCAA Trotting Championship. Branding. Okay, so since we're not all these rules and structures and tradition and blah, 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 blah. No, out the door. If we want to change something and we see something, we're going to fix it. Here's the best part, okay? The schools, right? This is a sport. What we're going to do is we're going to say to them, hey, journalism, come on this trip. Broadcasters, we're going to Pinehurst this weekend. So here's what I want you to do. Ohio State, you're going to broadcast this one. It's a home game for you. Or okay, what's the closest to Pinehurst?
NC State.
NC State. Journalism and broadcasting. This is your home track. Broadcast it. I want to see your input. We're not going to be beholden to the way that it's viewed, camera angles and things like that. We're going to let the college kids who are growing up, you produce it. You do whatever the hell you want. We want to see your input. Be creative. Let's see it. What do you think about that?
It's something I've always told tracks to do. I said, why don't, instead of trying to get this old, like 56-year-old be your marketing person, why don't you just hire like 5 college interns, give them a budget and just say, just go wild. Just do it. So I don't care what you do. Like, your salary, your intern, so it's minimal. We're like, our cost is not big. Just go at it. It's better than what we're doing now, which is nothing. So just go for it.
I mean, with doing that, you're basically, it's the same thing. You're not actually having to dish out money to go hire a production company to produce your thing, because that's part of the curriculum. So it could be, if NC State knew, okay, we're going to have home games, March 1st, April 12th, and May, 18th. They could prepare. That's your project. That's a digital project that isn't restrictive to horse racing. So all of the graphic design classes, all your things like that. How are we going to distribute this? All of these schools have something from another area that they could pull from and say, guys, have at it. How are we going to get this sport bigger?
Yeah, I think you'd have, now you're drawing in all those people's families, all those people's friends. You're exposing so many more people to harness racing outside just the people that are on the team. You're just creating that snowball's getting bigger and bigger.
I would imagine, too, that all of the schools have some sort of pre-med, vet school, something where, hey, during the week, guys, all the vets, NC State has a major vet program.
Yes.
Hey, come to the barn. Let's do some stuff. Let's learn about the horses. Let the kids, come to the barn. Like, that's something.
Yeah. and like you have, you'd want to have some accountability on it. So during the thing, you have your vets on staff are a college, one of the college's certified vets, and a vet student who are there. They check the horses afterwards, they check them beforehand, things like that. They do they can do the testing or whatever. There's you're just incorporating more of the colleges to be involved in it.
Yeah, and again, we're not restricted. Now, I think, there'll have to be some sort of testing, but maybe, I mean, obviously. But again, too, well, listen, I'm never going to assume that colleges won't do anything to win. So there's going to,
I assume they will do anything to win.
Yeah. But, you're going to have testing, obviously. But, again, that can be part of the program or something, or maybe we are sending it all to Cornell or Hong Kong or wherever the hell we're testing. But I still think, do you think that there will be the level of, I guess maybe you just have to assume, we have to assume.
Yeah,
right?
you can't assume that the people will play by the rules. You just never can.
Now, do you know how much revenue of the NCAA's $9+ billion? Do you know where 81% of that came from, Jay?
I believe it would be a television deal if
Yes.
I had to make my wisest estimation.
Yes, a television deal. How many television deals does harness racing have?
Well, considering we usually have to pay to get onto television,
Yeah.
I would say 0. A -2, probably.
So we're presenting a college-based entertainment product produced by the colleges. I would assume that, the local ones, like the SEC network, maybe that's turned into a network, but I'd imagine that all started probably from local broadcasts and things like that, right? I mean, I don't know the birth of it, but had to be started by the colleges themselves.
Yeah, and the thing is, we can target ourselves to be on days where it's like, hey, SEC Network, you have nothing to broadcast on this day. Mm-hmm. We're putting our event on this day. There you go.
I don't even think that this stuff has to generally necessarily be live. Do you?
No, I mean, people kind of like to see live, but you're very flexible with the way you've set this up, and you have 2 different times where you can work yourself into the spots where there's a absence of activity on those days.
Yeah, I think that eventually we would like to be live because we want the social media aspect. Sports is the only thing that really needs to be live, other than maybe special events like the Oscars or things like that where I got to watch it live. But I don't have to watch, The Walking Dead live anymore. Maybe certain things, yes, but 99% of TV isn't about live anymore. So if we can just get it on TV, it's produced by the kids, and we're going to see new stuff. We're not going to see the traditional, and we don't even have to buy cameras or anything like that. Shoot it with your damn phones. Everybody's got a phone. Imagine if we had 300 people, right, just standing there with their iPhone, and we took the 1-second clip from each person. That would be cool. I think that would be just something like that to say, hey, we're going to try this. I think that television, whether it's the SEC network or the Big Ten or whatever, they would love something like this if we just gave them a product that's enjoyable to watch.
Yeah, there's a lot of times where I have the SEC network. I watch it a lot because there's a lot of Kentucky things on, and they're showing the 2005 Kentucky versus Auburn football game. And I'm like, really? There's nothing else on right now? So clearly they kind of need some programming at certain times of the year.
Think about the journalism that's going to surround this, right? We're not dealing with owners. We're not dealing with anything like that. It's just raw kids. I mean, the kids that are going to be in this program are going to get covered. They're going to be stars. We're going to turn them into stars. And it's going to be, since we don't have to be cluttered by handicapping. I mean, you could talk about who you think's going to win. I mean, but you don't have to talk about the handicapping involved with it. I think the 2's going to win, so I'm going to bet a 2 over the 3, 4, 6. No, it's just discussing wholly the strategy, the way that races are going to be. Kids will be more raw. I love college interviews with college kids. They're kids. Yeah, what's not to love about them?
Yeah, you're going solely on entertainment. So you know what? you are going to be putting a microphone in front of the kids after races and before the races and having the coaches react, pre and post race. It's all about the entertainment aspect of it. So you're not going to have any dead air. It's going to be you want those raw emotions caught, because that's going to be good television.
Yeah. Is there any, before we talk about the financial part of this, is there any other parts that we missed or covered? Because, in itself, wholly, we're creating, the NFL is the NFL. The NFL doesn't have a lock and key on football. We now have the XFL. We have the Canadian Football League. And they've altered it and made different rules and things like that. So they took what they think will work and what's best, and the XFL is going to have different rules. And there's all these different, so there isn't a lock on harness racing. So we can take whatever we want from it and pull what we want, and then take the garbage that's holding the sport down and say, okay, you're over there. If you want to gamble on the sport, go. Maybe Vegas will take odds on this thing, but again, we're not going to focus on it, and we're not going to take gambling, and that no money is going to be made from gambling on this.
It's the whole thing that we've talked about for a long time. Clearly the current method of harness racing is not working. So at some point you have to recognize, hey, we need to at least try an alternate revenue stream. Mm-hmm.
And I think that if you just put this on TV, the benchmark is 100,000 viewers. Okay. That's regularly what the ESPN3 viewers get watching, bowling. You just throw it on any network and people are dying for content. That's why these TV deals are so massive. They're just dying for content on these websites, on these television. They just want stuff. So if we're giving them a couple of hours a week, maybe you have a Wednesday report on what's going to happen or things like that. They're just dying for content.
Yeah, if drone racing can get on actual ESPN, do not tell me that harness racing can't get on the SEC network.
Yeah. And everybody's always drones is one thing. Imagine if we weren't near airports and just throw a drone up there. We would love to see it. We all love to see it.
Yeah.
So is there anything else before we get into the kind of financial part of this?
No, I think we've gotten pretty far here.
Yeah. So let's talk about the financial part. Now, my initial idea, Jay, which I'm scrapping. And the reason is, okay, so here was the original idea. I said, well, let's have tracks, colleges in New York and Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and Ohio and Indiana, because that's where harness racing is. And that's where the money is. That's where the slot money is. And they have all these massive purses everywhere. And why not just say, hey, to fund your future, because right now harness racing has done nothing to secure its future. They're just taking money. And they're, if you actually gave back and helped fund a college funded program like this, why would they take the money away? Why would they take your slot money away? If you're helping to fund the future, you say, listen, look, we took a couple million and put it towards kids, and we had these programs. But then I thought, you know what, Jay, just like every other thing in harness racing, I'm not going to ask anybody to cooperate and group together because we can't, right? Is that fair to say, Jay?
Yeah, it doesn't have, people have clamored for years upon years about, well, let's generate a national marketing fund where everybody chips in. It can't happen. Whatever, nobody can play nice with each other and make it happen. So
no, nobody, because you need all the tracks to work together. You need the horsemen to work together, and none of them are going to get along. So my initial idea, which I did the math, if young, all I would need, it's going to be a big investment, because the whole point is, why would Ohio State, why would Clemson, why would Texas, Oklahoma, all of these places that we're going to do this at, why would they want to do this? They're not going to import the money themselves. But if I told them, listen, we're going to do this for you. We're going to fund whatever, 90% of it. And all you got to do is just kind of put it under your umbrella, put it under the NCAA umbrella, put it underneath the Ohio State umbrella, and just regulate it. It's part of your program. Help promote it, help advertise it, things like that. I think they'll be like, yeah, okay, we don't have to do much work, and we get a lot of more exposure. I think that's pretty good for them, right?
Yeah, you have to, as long as you can put the incentives out there for them, like, hey, this is how it's going to help you here, here, and here, and here's what it's just going to cost you. I think you have a chance to open the door and make them listen.
So my initial thought was, okay, well, we're going to have all of these tracks, and let's just say each team was $1 million between expenses of the horses, expenses for travel, the scholarships for the kids, because that's the biggest thing. We want to offer full scholarships to 10 kids or whatever it is. So all of this stuff costs money. So I kind of did the math on all the expenses, and it would be about $1 million per team. And that is a lot. It sounds like a lot, but it really isn't. The initial investment would be that. Once you get the horses, a lot of these horses you're going to be able to keep for 4 or 5 years, especially with our system of not having to race them all the time. They'll get about 15 starts a year, and they could go do something else. They could go race regular, in the off season, whatever. But all the initial investment of buying these things, it's not going to be a lot. And I thought, okay, well, what if, because we're dealing with 6 states, what if, hey, Yonkers, you want to host an event? You want to host a leg? It's going to cost you $150,000 a leg. That's about what it would be. Well, $150,000 a leg, that's not a lot for Yonkers horsemen. Okay?
No.
The way in my whole schedule, which I threw away the whole schedule, it was going to be about $250 a race. And at the Meadowlands, it was going to be about $800 a race. That's not a lot. There really isn't a lot in the big scheme of things. But even asking that would be like pulling teeth from a baby. Don't you agree?
Absolutely. Yeah, I have no confidence in getting that done. So and again, our whole thing about this is the NFL has football. USDA and Standardbred Canada, they have their harness racing, whatever they want to brand it. This is not that. We are taking our version of harness racing and taking it and putting it into the NCAA Trotting Championship. So we have all different rules, all different things. A lot of the things will be the same, but we're not going to have as many restrictions. So I think since we're building a series and a championship, Jay, most championships have sponsors and a group that bought into it and is now managing that championship. Basically, sir, are we looking for sponsors for the TV deal, or are we looking for sponsors overall?
No, we're looking for partners. Yeah. It's gonna be like
investors, basically, is what.
Yes,
we're sponsors. Yeah,
we're saying that basically you're investing into the overall group of it now, because it'll be like the XFL, but partially different, because it won't be all franchise under the same thing. It'll be Team Ohio State, Team Michigan, and that's why I think like you break it up into just say $1 million each team. That's starting, that's everything like that for each year, and you build this up, and what you're basically saying is an investor, and again, the business plan will be figured out, and we're going to do, this is the general for the episode. But basically what we're saying is you're investing into the NCAA Trotting Championship. Not, we're not asking horsemen. Hey, listen, if a horseman's entity wants to invest, then that's fine.
Yeah.
Cool. But we're not asking all horsemen. This way, we don't have to listen to you. We're doing it our way and our rules. And with it doing this, we're going to get the TV deals, which are worth millions. So down the road, a year or 2 or 3, you're going to see viewers pick up. You're going to see people scrounging for this. I mean, the NBA got a $2 billion deal, television deal. There are a lot of these NCAA deals are worth, Alabama's getting $42 million a year. Every SEC team is getting $42 million a year from the SEC network. Every school in the SEC from their television deal. Think about that. So for a couple years, maybe we'll have to eat it. But overall, the investment will make, once we get a television deal and we establish a television product and a viewership, that's where the money starts coming in.
Yeah, and I think you're also going to be able to make an appeal to the boosters. Boosters love to give money to their schools, especially the athletic department. For example, the University of Kentucky, there's a guy, he's given the most of the school overall. He put 20 million towards the business school just to make the business school look pretty and have it pretty. So now you're gonna say, okay, all we need is $1 million from the entire thing of the boosters. I think you could get that and more potentially if you give them the thing. It was like, hey, actually, if you do it this way, you can actually make money off of it. You're going to help your school while making money off of it.
Yeah, I mean,
in the long run,
in the big scheme of it, it's not an actual lot of money.
No, because you're drawing from so many more people.
Yeah, so, and it's something that a lot of people can actually invest in because you're investing in kids, you're investing in sports, and you're investing in college. So imagine, like, okay, maybe to start out, because part of the expense is buying equipment, travel, and where are these horses going to stay. Well, imagine if a booster from University of Kentucky said, we're going to build a 30-horse stable, and we're going to build a track, and we're going to build a couple of paddocks. Jay, how much does that really cost? I'm sure that in the University of Kentucky, there's land somewhere close that they could plop that down. I mean, is that...
They already have a horse farm with like tons of research paddocks. So I mean, I've been there. There is enough land to build a half-mile track and a barn. Like,
okay, so imagine, right? Forget about. I mean, first you start off with a training facility where it's just let's build a track. It's not that much to build a track. I mean, it's initial investment, right? It's an initial investment, and you have to build the track. What would that cost? A couple $100,000 with the barn?
Yeah, I would assume.
So
you're not buying any land, so you're good there. So it's purely material, equipment, and stuff like that.
So, I mean, maybe the first year we're going to a local training facility and we're renting stalls and things like that. And then a local booster says, no, let's build a track, right? And then you build a track and then you're traveling to different tracks. But then the University of Kentucky says, you know what? Yeah, we're going to build a racetrack and we're going to build an actual stadium or whatever, fans around that. Now they're making money because they see, oh, wait, we got to go to Pinehurst and pay money? No, we're building our own facility. We're going to do it right. Yeah. We're going to put our own stuff in here.
And and it's the thing where not every school has to do it, but those are the schools that are going to kick everyone's ass, and eventually people are going to get tired of getting their ass kicked, and then now you're going to have competition amongst it.
Yeah, so it's you're Ohio State. Wait, Kentucky just built a new farm? Boosters, come on, guys. We need
the college athletics arms race that happens in every single sport.
Yeah. We got to build a better gym, a better arena, better things, better that. You're making competition because there's no competition between, Meadows and Northfield. Northfield builds a new paddock. They're like, yeah, whatever. We got the.
Yeah.
Like, no, you're making colleges compete against each other in every aspect. So I think that the initial way to go is to just have investors invest in the championship, in the brand that's going to host, I just went to Monster Energy Supercross. Feld Entertainment owns the whole thing, and they run the whole thing. They're the ones who make the cheese. They're not paying the riders. They're not paying anything. They're renting out the stadium. They collect all the cheese. So that's how you have to have it. You have to have a partnership group. Everybody buys into. You have the original plan of all the expenses and all that stuff, and then people just buy into it, and it's run through the end. NCAA kind of regulates it because you want the colleges to be involved. That's 3/4 of the allure. And honestly, other than the horses, who cares what happens to professional harness racing? It doesn't even matter, honestly, right?
Yeah, I mean, theoretically, this should make professional harness racing better. If this was successful, professional harness racing would prosper, and you'd have a fan base, you'd have a funnel of new trainers and new drivers, and you'd have a funnel of new owners. So if this works, professional harness racing it probably survives. And if it doesn't, professional harness racing doesn't gonna survive anyway. So
Yeah, I mean, like in 5 years when all the slot money gets taken away, and all of a sudden people don't have money to think, like, horses aren't gonna stop being. Harness racing will stay around. It'll
just be wildly different.
But we're not talking, and maybe this helps spawn the industry to keep breeding more horses. You know, like
Yeah.
again, we're not looking at having crazy 3-year-olds and things like that. It's like, no, we're sticking with the older horses, and maybe a lot of these horses can stick around because we're not making them go crazy fast miles, you know, and on a regular basis. I think a lot of horses could do well racing 15 times a year versus 35 because they got to make money. So these horses could actually have longer careers in racing, and we're not going to restrict it, age limits. As long as you can race, as long as you pass a vet check, yeah, you can race.
Yeah.
So
I think it's a totally new avenue that it could help everything if it's successful, and if it's not successful, you're still in the same spot you were from beforehand.
Yeah,
so.
we stripped it all down. We stripped every rigid structure that is blocking the growth of harness racing, and taking what we love out of it, the competition and the way that things look and the way that things are, and injecting youth into it. So what's not to love about it?
No, you have to love us.
Yeah, I mean, we fixed harness racing again. Another idea that fixed harness racing. So just actually, we didn't fix harness racing. We just created our own trotting championship. So
we are harness racing now.
We're not harness racing. That is totally different. It's going to be a totally different thing. So anything else we got to do, Jay?
No, we've done it again, Batman.
Done it again, yeah. So I'm Ryan Macedonio. Everything is at TrotCast.com. This is probably the 3rd episode I think of it. I don't even know how many episodes this will be morphed into. I got to edit it and all that stuff. So everything will be at TrotCast.com. Add me on everything: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Snapchat now. I figured, I got to start doing Snapchat. So add me. Here's my Snapchat code. So add me, bitches. Jay, take us away.
I'm Jay Hochstetler. You can find me on Twitter at JDHarness. Thank you for listening, and join the revolution.